Hello and welcome to our 200th episode of Conservation Conversations with BirdLife South Africa. I'm your host, Christina Hagen, coming to you live from Cape Town. We aim to keep these webinars free for everyone to learn from and enjoy. So if you do enjoy the series and can contribute, no matter how small an amount, please do consider donating. You can scan that QR code on the screen or go to the BirdLife South Africa website. On to tonight's episode. I'm very excited that we are at our 200th episode and we are welcoming back past hosts, Melissa Whitecross and Andrew de Blocq. And we had hoped to be joined by all the current hosts. Unfortunately, due to fieldwork commitments, John Kinghorn and Jessica Wilmot can't be with us tonight, but Kurt Martin is here. And so we'll be taking a trip down memory lane, talking about how the Conservation Conversations webinar started and how people can get involved in conservation in your own lives. So in case anyone needs any reminders, these are our hosts. Very, very happy to have three of them here with us this evening. And yeah, I think we can get going. We're going to be having a little bit of a discussion. So Melissa, Andrew, and Kurt, please do show us your faces and say hello to everyone.
Good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to be back and unbelievable to see just the diversity of attendees in the audience. Many old familiar names, so wonderful to see you all again. And just a huge congrats to the team. 200 is not a small milestone. Well done, guys.
Yeah, fantastic to be back. Thank you for having us. It really is special. And congratulations on 200 episodes. I think this is a massive testament to BirdLife South Africa and how you've kept this going. Obviously, Melissa had a very winning formula at the start for us to be 200 episodes in and still going. But BirdLife has worked very, very hard to keep this going and make it a reality. So congratulations all around. Well done. What a fantastic initiative this has been.
Thanks, Melissa and Andrew, and thanks, Christina, and thanks most importantly to the audience, because of course, if we were speaking to nobody every other Tuesday, this wouldn't be going on. So thank you very much for giving up your Tuesdays so frequently and for joining us. It's really fantastic to catch up with this crowd every other week. So thanks to all of you. And Melissa, I guess special thanks for you for getting this going in the first place.
One of my highlights.
Great. So we've made a short video that I'm going to share now. Give me 1 second. Apologies, techno gremlins. Not quite sure why it's not going to allow me to share my sound, but
maybe about 500 episodes, the techno gremlins will have departed.
Be a Zoom webinar without them.
Let me just share that and see if I can. Can you see the video?
We can see the video.
Okay. Let me just start it and see if I can see if you can hear it. Okay.
Nothing just yet, Christina. Maybe if you stop sharing and then start sharing again.
Oh no, I know what I did wrong.
Good.
Let me start this again. Sorry about that, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our very first Conservation Conversations with BirdLife South Africa. We are extremely excited to be able to bring you a webinar series that hopes to bring a little joy to your lockdown and hopefully entertain your Tuesday evenings. I'd like to welcome our speaker this evening, Mark Anderson, the CEO of BirdLife South Africa.
Before we start, I just need to firstly welcome you all, and it's just so nice to see such good attendance Really appreciate you giving up your time to be with us this evening. And I also need to thank Melissa, Dr. Melissa Howes-Whitecross, who's been the champion for this series of webinars that we're going to be presenting during lockdown.
So I see there's a couple of comments saying the sound wasn't great, but I hope most people could hear it. Yeah, it was great to go down memory lane and making that presentation or that video. So before we get going, we have a poll that we would like to run just to find out who in our audience has been around since the beginning, and how many people have, when people started watching us. And so I think Kurt is going to run that poll. If you can, hopefully everyone should see a box popping up on their screen shortly with some options for you to choose from.
All right, it's coming now. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, they should be
Great.
able to see it now. Great. So we'll leave that going for a little bit as we're talking and I see the responses are flying in. That's great. And also while we're asking for some feedback, it would be great to hear what Conservation Conversations has meant to you. If you've been around since the beginning, or if you only joined for this one, or the last few, we'd still love to hear your feedback. So if you can put in the Q&A box just a short message of what Conservation Conversations has meant to you, it would be great to kind of have some feedback from people at this milestone episode. So I think the responses are starting to slow down. It's amazing. 46% of people have been here since the first episode. That's amazing. So we'll share those poll results shortly once everyone's had a chance to answer. And it's great. Welcome to the 5 people who are here for the first time. That's really great to have you. Okay, I think we've got 64% of people participating. So
we come back to it in a bit, Christina.
Yeah, let's do that. So now we just wanted to kind of have a bit of a round robin through each of the hosts, starting with Melissa. Just some history and background to Conservation Conversations, why we started, and yeah, some insights from now that you've had a bit of a step back from BirdLife, what it's meant to you to have been a part of Conservation Conversations.
Yeah, thanks so much, Christina. And again, just amazing to be back. Obviously, this origin story kicked off in a ramshackle homemade office in the heart of lockdown. We dreamt up the idea of trying to reach our amazing flock of supporters who we had suddenly been cut off from, thanks to that nasty little virus that started floating around the world. And as you heard at the top of this episode, a very naive host got going with the show on the 14th of March, and 14th of April. I'm very glad to say the sound and presenting has hopefully evolved and improved over the years for all of us. So with that, just a massive thanks to the team for continually trying to make the show better and better for our amazing audience. And I'm blown away that 46% of you have been here from the start. I think there are TV shows out there that would kill for statistics like that. But what an amazing milestone. Again, just congrats. 200 episodes and 7 seasons is a fantastic effort, and I think really just speaks to a team effort. There is absolutely no way the show would still be here without the many, many people on your screen and the many behind the scenes. And I see a couple of them in the chat room. I hear Andy in particular, thank you for all you did back in the day. And we'll obviously go through a few more recognitions in a little bit. But I'd like to give a particular mention. Andrew, you stepped in when I'd been doing this night after night every Tuesday for about 6 months and gave me a bit of a breather and reprieve to go and do some field work. And you became an absolutely integral part of the show, sort of tag teaming with me and bringing a whole new flavor of AV tourism into the offering, which I think was really, really well received. And I know those episodes have gone on to be some of our most watched with the best birding sites to visit. And then, of course, Christina, a huge thank you to you. After I stepped away back in 2023, you've really just been that quiet strength holding everything together, bringing in the new blood and maintaining some of the old look and feel. And just thank you for everything that you've done to keep the show going. And well done for where you've taken it with the team around you. And of course, the new guys on the block, Kurt, John, Jess, in their absence, wonderful to see the energy and the new thinking that you guys have brought to the show and to see just how far it's come. In Africa, we know we don't go far if we don't go together. So well done, team. But the reason we started this whole show, as I said, that nasty little virus came along, and I personally was very lucky to be on the sort of bird talk circuit. I'd regularly get to go out there and interact with so many of our amazing clubs and birders and get to tell them our story about what we were doing at BirdLife South Africa. And I suddenly found myself stuck in my lounge, unable to share my passion and my endeavor to try and infect the world with bird enthusiasm cut off. So sitting on my couch, I suddenly realized there was this growing movement of webinars emerging. And I thought, why not? Let's get BirdLife onto this webinar circuit. And I pitched the idea to Mark, and he very kindly let me loose. And here we are 200 episodes later. And I'm very grateful to him for entrusting me with building this wonderful platform and for all the input that he and the rest of the BirdLife team have given to make it the show that it is. But I think what's been really, really incredible is just to see the impact and the reach that the show has achieved. I mean, just watching the chat box as we were logging in here earlier, people from the Americas, people from Europe, old friends, new friends, Belgium. And I know on the odd occasion, we've even had the Australians tuning in very early in the morning. So it's amazing to see just how far this has gone. And of course, closer to home, bringing our national birders all together. Even Sue and Derek down in Swellendam, great to see you guys still here, and I'll hopefully be joining you down there very soon again. But it's great the ability that shows like this have to cross geographies and cross boundaries. And I think really, really importantly, the repository of knowledge that has been created. Christina, you buzzed through the 200 episodes that are sitting on YouTube, almost 200. And it is a priceless vault of knowledge that people can go and watch anytime. And I think that for me is one of my proudest outcomes of what we have done here on the show. If you are interested in almost any aspect of bird watching or bird conservation, you can go and have a look at those different episodes and find something that resonates with you. And you can go and watch it as many times as you need to. If you're a teacher, you can use them to help educate your learners. If you are a retiree and you want to broaden your skills and knowledge in how to answer EIAs or get involved in other conservation projects, there is something there for everybody. And I think that is really, really important. And I think as well, in moving into the role that I currently hold with Conservation Alpha, we're obviously a very small consultancy, really trying to sit as the bridge between the conservation world, where fantastic implementers are doing much needed and important work, and bridging them to mainstream finance, sort of the new world that has emerged of nature finance, and really trying to value nature in ways that are meaningful, not just for the guys on the ground who need the dollars, but really trying to make this a business decision, because without nature, we know that our business profit margins are at risk, and we're seeing it every day. I'm sure if you look at the news headlines, you don't have to go far to see floods, droughts, fires, all happening around us at extreme levels. And that is purely because we've neglected our ability to really invest in that ecological infrastructure around us that really underpins our societal and our economic needs. And I think what's wonderful about webinars like Conservation Conversations and just webinars in general, we're creating that bridge that allows us to create awareness, build knowledge, and share knowledge, and do it in a way that is scalable and replicable. So we can do this through recordings and pass it on to anybody, no matter the time zone, and it can sit there and allow people to continue learning. And I think, if anything, it's really, really important that we continue to close that communication gap. It's no longer an us and them. We need money as much as they need the environment. And I think that conversation is starting to build. And that really excites me in my new role. And it really excites me that there are platforms like this continuing to share knowledge about all aspects of conservation and nature. So I think, just from my side in closing, Conservation Conversations is undoubtedly one of my biggest personal highlights. I absolutely loved creating the show and sharing with so many people who are equally passionate about their various topics, and getting to share that knowledge on this platform with our amazing audience and interacting with them every week was something I absolutely loved, and something I still very much miss. But it's wonderful to be back here. And again, huge congratulations to BirdLife South Africa and the team for what you've done and continue to do. Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, Melissa. That was, yeah, a lovely, tribute and sort of history of the podcast and what it means to you. And I know it means a lot to everyone in this, well, in the virtual room, me included. So thank you very, very much for that. Now moving on to Andrew. Maybe you can just share some insights from when you started getting involved, and similarly what it's meant to you, and kind of more broadly now is in your role as a member of Parliament.
Yeah, well, thanks, Christina. I've actually just stepped out of Parliament. I got an excuse to leave early. They're still debating some Trade and Industry Committee report in the House at the moment. But Kurt thought a virtual background that made me look like I was still in Parliament would be a nice thing to do. But it really is just lovely to be back with everyone. It feels like a bit of a reunion. I don't just mean my good friends on the panel tonight, but all of you at home as well. COVID was a really weird time for all of us. And it was really quite a soothing, consoling kind of experience, being able to host webinars and know that although I'm just looking at a screen, there are hundreds of people on the other side of it that are paying attention and enjoying it and are finding value in the things that you're bringing to them. So I think that's some of the beauty of this idea that Melissa came up with. As she said, I joined probably about 6 months into the project. Melissa, until then, absolute Trojan, had been doing a webinar episode every single week, every single Tuesday for about 25 weeks in a row. And I can't remember if it was her that said that she needs a break and she needs someone to share the load, or if it was one of her bosses, Hannelina or Mark, that said, "You're putting way too much time into this. You have a whole landscape program to manage." But I got drawn in. I just moved to Johannesburg in the middle of COVID to take on a role in the tourism project, which at the time seemed like a pretty foolhardy thing to do, take a role in tourism in the middle of COVID when there was no tourism. But the webinars certainly kept me busy, kept me stimulated, and kept me looking for new ideas. And that's, for me, one of the most touching aspects of this whole thing, and the fact that we've got to 200 episodes, is the diversity of topics that have been covered, the diversity of speakers that have been brought in, experts in their fields, entertaining people, people talking on conservation work, people talking on AV tourism, all these different aspects. And I think if you take these 200 episodes, it seems like a lot of you have watched most, if not all of them. Maybe that's the next poll we should run, is how many of the episodes do you think you've watched? You've probably accumulated about 2 master's degrees worth of information on conservation, ecology, ecotourism, community projects, birding ethics, all sorts of different topics that we've been able to cover, how to get involved in environmental impact assessments. So there's practical things, there's things for entertainment. There was just such diversity of things we were able to bring to people when we were all feeling very disconnected. And I think it's so wonderful to feel connected with everyone again. Every time I log in as an audience member now, it feels like I'm back in that same community, that same sort of chias and chutzpah that we used to bring together. And then in terms of where I am now, it's a very different sphere where conservation is not talked about as much as it should be. There was a poll that went out last week by the Social Research Foundation that, for example, found only 4% of voters will consider climate change when choosing who to vote for. And that's pitiful. I don't need to tell you that. You've been watching these episodes, you understand what an existential threat that is to not only all of our lives, but things that people care about, like the economy, public health, all these issues that cross-cut all sectors of society and really do affect us all. And that's why it's so important for us to keep having these conversations. And it's not just people that are working for the likes of BirdLife South Africa that need to be driving conservation issues. It's all of us in all spheres that need to understand the importance of biodiversity, of ecosystem services, of preserving our planet and making sure we don't overstep those natural boundaries that this planet has. So I think that's probably enough from me for now. It's really wonderful to be back. Thank you so much for having us.
It's really great to have you back, and Melissa as well. It does feel like a reunion. I've missed having you guys on the show, and I think the audience has as well, from the comments coming in. But yeah, thanks for that insight into I guess parliamentary life, or what people are taking into consideration when voting, which I guess politicians need to consider. And hopefully we can start to change some of that and bring climate change and biodiversity into people's minds, and so they choose more wisely when voting and deciding on what issues are important. So we're going to pause there. I think, Kurt, shall we show the poll results? Sorry, my words are failing me this evening. So we had 77% of the people. Yeah, you run us through them, Kurt.
Yeah, so 190 of you, which is about 77% of attendees today, have answered. I'm going to end the poll because I think that's a good sample size, and I'm going to share the results, so let me know when you can see them. Great. So I see that Melissa can. I hope that people in the audience can as well, and it's not just restricted to, I'm getting some thumbs up. So yeah, look at that, a huge spread. So my predecessor, Andy, who I don't know if he ever hosted, but I'm sure he appeared. He's in the chat at the moment saying hello. And he's WhatsApped me saying he might be in and out because he's got 2 little kids to take care of. But anyway, that's besides the point. He must have done a good job, Melissa, in helping you market this back in the day to reach so many people that are still here today. So just a shout out to Andy. We miss you. I know I do. But yeah, and I'm also very happy to see some people watching for the very first time, and I hope that you continue to join us, especially people that have joined in the last year, or this year, or this is their first time. Yeah, we're very, very happy to see that, and yeah, we hope to continue welcoming you every other Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a bit of a different episode from usual, as it's not on a specific topic, and we will be reminiscing and sharing stories. But so it's not as birdie and conservation focused as it normally is. But yeah, I hope those new viewers will keep coming back. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that poll, Kurt. And it's great to see the spread of viewers that we have. So yeah, as the next host who came on board, I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts. I came on board the hosting roster in, I think, May 2021, when Melissa and Andrew were starting to do a lot more field work, and they weren't able to host as regularly. And it was a surprising request and kind of way out of my comfort zone, but I said yes as a way to grow my skills. I enjoyed the technical side of Zoom and trying to work out all these little techno gremlins, but I've come to really enjoy hosting, and as both Melissa and Andrew have said, the community that has grown up around these webinars and seeing the same names in the participant list every 2 weeks or every week as it was, and it's like having a whole bunch of new friends that you don't get to see in person, but you know that they're there and they're sending lovely messages in the chat box. So it's been such an honor to be a part of this, and I have also learned a lot. I focus on seabirds, particularly African penguins, so being exposed to all the other amazing stuff that is happening out there in the bird and conservation world has been really great. And I think I don't really have much to add to the importance of communicating these conservation stories and the great benefit of our YouTube repository, which I do hope we are able to kind of categorize a little bit more in future, so that it's easier for people to find episodes or topics that they are most interested in. But that YouTube repository is such a kind of unexpected benefit of this. We thought we would, put out these live webinars and that would be that, but having them up on YouTube is really, really useful, and I hope allows us to reach a much wider audience than just the 200 or 300 or 400 people who are watching live. And it allows us to go back and watch again if people missed something. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and one that I am committed to continuing. So yeah, just another thanks. We'll have some more thank yous later, but a big thanks to the audience for being so loyal. It has been really, really great to have you all along for the journey. So it seems like we lost Kurt for a minute. So I hope we have him back. I don't know, Kurt, are you there? Yes.
Ta-da!
Great.
I was very suddenly plunged into darkness at my house.
Oh no. Okay.
Seems like all this rain in Joburg has caused some earth leakage problems. So anyway, I won't bore you all with that. We're back.
Great. Well, you missed me sharing my my sort of journey through conservation conversations, and so I was going to pass it on to you, but I think maybe I will play John Kinghorn's video first and let you get a bit settled. So John is unfortunately in the field, well, fortunately for him, in the field, and doesn't have great receptions, but he did manage to send us this video before he lost signal completely. So let me just share that.
Hey everybody, it's John Kinghorn here, and I'm really sad that I'm unable to attend tonight's episode of Conservation Conversations. I was going to, and as you can see, I'm here in the bush, in the field. In fact, I'm recording this the day of Conservation Conversations. In fact, it's now 2 hours before we're supposed to be going live. But I wanted to still get a message out across to everybody and all you, the viewers and supporters of Conservation Conversations, who have been tuning in for all 200 episodes. For me to have formed part of it and to feature alongside all of the incredible hosts that are tuning in tonight on this episode, and the legacy that they have created along these years has been truly phenomenal. And to just play that small part in bringing conservation to you has been truly humbling. And I really appreciate the opportunity to continue doing so and to share these amazing stories of birding and conservation with every single one of you. A platform like this is hugely important for youth, for anybody just getting involved in birding, and I could only encourage you to continue supporting it and to continue sharing the word of conservation through conversation. Thank you for your support, not only of this platform, but of BirdLife South Africa as an organization. And from the wonderful bush of the Waterberg Biosphere Reserve here in Volgevonden, thank you for watching, and good luck to my fellow colleagues and presenters for hosting tonight, the 200th episode of Conservation Conversations. What an achievement.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, John, for those words in your absence. It was great that he managed to get a video out to us. And one thing I forgot to say when I was sharing my journey was that once, and first Melissa and then Andrew left BirdLife South Africa, I was hosting solo for quite a while. And I was very grateful when John came on board in late 2024 to help share the load. So it was really great to have him on board as well. And yeah, as Melissa knows, it's quite a task to be hosting all of the episodes by yourself, but I at least was only doing every 2 weeks, not every week. So yeah, just a big thanks to John for coming on board. And then Kurt Martin and Jess Wilmot joined us in the beginning of 2025 as hosts. So Kurt, do you want to share a few memories of joining and how you have felt about Conservation Conversations?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it was surreal joining BirdLife South Africa as an employee, because I'd been a reader of African BirdLife and I'd been a viewer of Conservation Conversations. So it was quite surreal to suddenly see behind the curtain and realize just how much work goes into the production of these things. I think we often take it for granted, these kinds of resources and these kinds of efforts. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. If anything, I'm trying to just give you lot credit for keeping it going, firstly on your own, and then with a little bit of help. And now I think about half the company is involved in keeping it running in some shape or form. So yeah, to become part of that team was such a privilege. And it's probably been just about a year, probably to the day almost, that I hosted my first solo episode. And I was nervous and shaking and whatever else. And of course, the tech gremlins didn't help that. But, moving on, I've hosted my fair share by now. And I think from nothing else other than the welcoming and encouraging and happy attitude of our audience, it's become far easier and far less daunting to sort of get on stage, as it were, and present. And of course, the knowledge of what a privilege it is to be learning firsthand from the amazing guests that we have. It really is such a special platform that we have. And I thank all of you for keeping it running, getting it going, and for attending.
Thanks, Kurt. Yeah, it's been great to have you and Jess joining us more recently. and yeah, it's sharing the load a bit more and giving some diversity in the host lineup. So
in that regard, Christina, I think,
yes,
do you mind if I share a little anecdote?
please do.
Cool. The first, I was joking before we went live, and it was just the panelists talking about this, and I just can't get over it. Unfortunately, it really was such a huge wound to me. When I hosted my first webinar alongside John Kinghorn, and one of the comments was "Bring back the female hosts," and to this day, I still don't quite know if that was kind of from a feminist perspective, like they want to see more women presenting, or if it was from a more, shall we say, creepy perspective. Either way, it wasn't appreciated, and I hope that whoever made that comment has warmed up to myself and John Kinghorn by now.
I'm sure they have. Yeah, so thanks for that, sharing that vulnerability, but also quite funny moment. We did have a good chuckle with that in our Conservation Conversations WhatsApp group when it came through. So now we just wanted to have a bit of a discussion around how people can get involved in conservation in your own lives. If you don't work in conservation, people who don't work in conservation can still help and support and contribute in many different ways. So we just wanted to talk about that and give people some tips and hints of how you can go about doing that, and maybe some resources. We can point you to some resources that are out there that can help. So I don't know if anyone does want to kick us off. I do have a couple of slides. I'll just share them, but if someone wants to kick us off in the meantime, please feel free.
Christina, while you looking for those to share, I think that Jess may have arrived.
Oh, has she?
I heard a little ping.
Jess, are you there? I think she might.
Sorry, guys. I have arrived. I'm here. I'm here. Yay! Sorry.
That's great. Thanks.
Hi,
I'm so glad you could join us, Jess.
I'm tuning in all the way from Thorny Bush Nature Reserve in the Lowveld. We're busy catching European rollers. So sorry for the late joining, but glad I could join. And the Wi-Fi went out. Typical in the bush challenges.
Well, very happy to have you, and I know you're on the roster for later in the year to share some updates about your European rollers, so people can look forward to that.
Definitely.
We've just kind of finished talking about all the hosts' sort of recollections of first hosting, and how you feel about Conservation Conversations and the value that it brings. I don't know if you want to share that now, or if you need a minute to get settled.
Well, I was trying to change my name from Conservation Conversations to Jess. But no, I love it. Initially, so when Andrew was still at BirdLife, he tried to get me to join, and I was like, no, it's a bit intimidating. But yeah, then when he left and Christina was on her own, and John got on board, and Kurt as well, I thought, yeah, it's a really nice platform. I love it. I think storytelling and sharing the work that we do, thanks Christina, is really valuable, and it's something that actually isn't prioritized enough in our field. And I just think it's a really nice platform, not just for BirdLife South Africa, but also other researchers that are doing amazing work, to invite them on board, to share the work that they're doing, and just encourage more collaborative conversations.
Absolutely, it's been great to host so many BirdLife South Africa staff on this platform, but we've also hosted many people from outside the BirdLife South Africa family, and given students an opportunity to share their work, as well as other conservation organizations. So yeah, what you say is absolutely true. So yeah, I've found my slides, so I'll just share them on how people who don't work in conservation can contribute and support the work of conservation. So not surprisingly, for a membership-driven organization to suggest to join a bird club. I hope many people in the Zoom room are members of bird clubs. It does mean it's a larger community of people who you can learn from, and it also helps BirdLife South Africa when we say that we have, 5,000 members. It gives us a bit more weight when we are advocating for certain conservation positions. Another really important way people can contribute is through citizen science projects. There are many, many of them. The Southern African Bird Atlas Project, SABAP, is probably one of the better known ones, but there are various other citizen science projects that have great acronyms like QUAC, the Coordinated the Coordinated Waterbird Counts, which is our next episode, and then the Coordinated Aviformal Road Counts, which is what I was getting at, is CAR. So there's a whole bunch of these projects that people can get involved in, and you can contribute data to conservationists all while you're out birding. And then people can use platforms to spread the word about ongoing conservation projects and challenges. So everyone's on social media these days, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can share, spread the word about various conservation initiatives. And then there are a whole host of biodiversity-friendly choices, from your garden to consumerism. And I know Melissa wanted to say a few words about conscious consumerism. So I'm going to stop talking and let Melissa jump in here.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah, when we were sort of brainstorming what aspects of what you can do at home, this has always been something that I've tried to carry out in my daily life. And I think it's something that is becoming easier and easier to do, thankfully, with the sort of word getting out there of biodiversity-friendly labels and different certifications that one can look at. But I think really underpinning all of this is the power that your spend has. Every rand that you earn and the choice that you make to spend that rand on has a knock-on consequence for where that product has come from. And if you spend a little bit of time doing your homework and digging into really well-behaved and nature-friendly producers, one can not only start to access products that are not just good for the environment, but most of the time they're a hell of a lot better for you. And I think the power that we have as individuals to support brands that are being responsible and trying to do the right thing in their value chains is a really, really important responsibility. And I think it will keep the individuals out there that are really running their businesses in a way that supports the planet and keeps us within those boundaries Andrew mentioned earlier. It's something that we all should be doing. So don't just pick something up off the shelf. Think about where it's come from and the footprint that it has, because the impact of that product can go far beyond just sitting on the shelf. And it's our responsibility to try and be conscious about where we're sourcing our stuff from. I'll leave it there, Christina, before I harp any more on my soapbox. We'll do an episode on that one day.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's great advice, just to, be a bit more conscious when you're consuming. I'm going to throw it out to the rest of us. Does anyone else have any tips or initiatives that people can follow?
I'll jump in and share. I mean, to just encapsulate what Melissa was saying, I think there's a often misattributed quote saying, "Don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value." And what you spend your money on really is important. It makes a huge difference. I want to just spend a little bit more time on the talking to people and spreading that word, spreading the gospel of conservation, as it were. And a little anecdote from my time in Parliament. I'm the only person on the Environment Committee in Parliament that has any sort of environmental background, any kind of affinity to nature, to the outdoors. The others are very much career politicians, usually from rural and impoverished areas, places where conservation and nature are not high up on the agenda. But there was a comment from the most wonderful lady who represents a party which is completely the antithesis of mine. I won't say which. She's an incredibly smart lady, has a PhD in sociology. She studied gender-based violence in Limpopo. She was placed on the Environment Committee and was sort of begrudgingly so. She wanted to be on the Health Committee. There wasn't space for her in her party. And after 6 months of being on the Environment Committee, spending time with us, learning from the department about what gets done in the environmental space, she said on the record at the end of a meeting, I've fallen in love with the environment. I can't believe this wasn't a part of my life. So it boils down to basically what I'm trying to say is you need to talk to everybody. Nature has a way of connecting everyone in some way. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your culture is, especially on this continent. We all have such ties to nature through our culture, our history, our natural heritage, and the way that we relate to each other. So to get people to care about something, they first have to know about it and appreciate it and love it, and then they'll start to make those behavioral changes that we need to move us forward. The other thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of getting involved is, well, firstly, getting your hands dirty. I saw in the comments we have a couple of volunteers at the likes of Sankob and other conservation projects, which is lovely. If you have the time and the inclination, then and the ability to volunteer, it's a wonderful thing to do, to join a group of like-minded people who are working on projects, and then also to put pressure on your leaders. So, I mean, I'm speaking here as a politician. I don't get lobbied nearly enough by people about conservation, so I'm opening up an invitation there to, I might regret that. I don't think so, though. I think it's important that we hold leadership to account and that we are making sure that conversation is always on the table, but also within your own businesses. Businesses have, again, incredible opportunities to invest in the right projects, to use those corporate social responsibility funds and channel them towards conservation projects that really are making a difference. And I think you've been exposed to a whole suite of them through the episodes. You don't need to look too far back and too far past BirdLife South Africa, to be honest, in terms of where you can spend money that's really going to be managed well and have an impact on conservation in the natural world, which all comes back to benefiting us at the end of the day. And that's often the message that we miss as people like myself. We're scientists, we're biodiversity inclined, we care about the natural environment. Other people, the way to get them interested in nature might be to talk about why it's good for their health or why it benefits their bottom line, why ESG investing is actually good for long-term returns because it's a positive feedback cycle on the entire market. Finding ways to package conservation that will reach who you need to reach at that specific moment. So that's a little input from me.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Wise words indeed there. And I don't know if I can add to anything that you've said. I don't know if any of our other co-hosts want to add anything.
So no, just to that, one can see why Andrew went into politics.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm nothing to add. I mean, both what Melissa and Andrew said.
I have no idea if that was an insult or a compliment, Jason.
No. I mean, you never know. That was a very
well-suited honourable member.
It was not an insult. A massive compliment.
Yeah, seconded. So on the screen now, I put together a short playlist of Conservation Conversations episodes that can give you some ideas on how to contribute. So some citizen science ones, one about how to get involved in EIAs, which is another facet that members of the public can get involved with, commenting on unsustainable developments in your area or letting BirdLife South Africa or other organizations know so that we can also comment on your behalf. And then importantly, as Andrew said, just having those conversations. If people don't know about it, they won't protect it. So continue talking to people and spread the gospel of conservation. So we are, Kurt, do you want to say something?
Yes, yeah, I thought that perhaps I would issue a challenge to everybody. So if you would, someone in your life, family, a friend, colleague, tell them something that you've learned here, tell them something about a bird that you both can see in the garden, something like that, teach them just one thing about birds. I often joke that I'm lucky I don't work for marketing at Slug Life South Africa, because nothing against slugs, but birds are far easier to get people to care about. And I think that holds true for any one of you that's interested in birds. If you were to introduce someone in your life that isn't familiar with them or doesn't particularly notice birds or other conservation issues, if you were to just teach them one little thing, just plant that seed, I think you'd be very surprised to see how it would grow. So that's a bit of homework for everybody, and we'll check in on 2 weeks time, and I'll make sure you've done your homework. I'll check your diaries.
I think Rob Simmons has hit the nail on the head there in the chat box, that recent study that came out showing just how good birding is for your brain. So if you want to tell your friends you're smarter than them, if you're a birder, you now can.
Yeah,
Can I make a little remark? Us three original first hosts, we spent so long staring at screens that we've all got glasses, and I think Kurt and Jess, you better invest in some optometrist insurance or something like that, because your time is coming.
Well, I've been wearing glasses a lot longer than I've been hosting, so So we are rapidly approaching 8 o'clock. We've obviously been enjoying chatting way too much. I just have a few important things that we need to get through. This is not so important, but I'll go through it quickly. Just some numbers that we pulled out. Obviously 200 episodes. If you watched the entire YouTube playlist, it would take you 9 days, 22 hours and some odd minutes. So if anyone has that amount of time to spare, go ahead and watch all our YouTube videos on the Conservation Conversations playlist. We've had 147 guest presenters, and more on that just now. We've actually had 7 hosts, because I think Mark Anderson hosted one or two episodes when Melissa or Andrew couldn't in the early days. We've had 6,900 odd people register for the webinars, but only 352 of you watch live per webinar. So that's really great to have so many people 6 years on still. And so then this is just a thank you to our amazing viewers across the world. So this is just a snapshot from one random webinar that I pulled out, and I can see where people are tuning in from. And so it's great to see the amazing spread across the world that we have, but maybe we need to try and get into some more Asian and South American audiences, but it's really great to see that we have a good spread within Africa. So thanks to all of you international viewers who join us every 2 weeks.
I think we should definitely target sorry to interrupt, but we should definitely target a Russian audience, because I'd love to see about 30% of that map turn green in one go.
Absolutely. And then we've mentioned it before, but we've had quite a lot of help over the years behind the scenes. So making the adverts, putting up the social media posts, making the slides that run before and during the webinars. Unfortunately, all of these people have since left BirdLife South Africa. The most recent Mpho, who left just the other day. But we are so grateful to Karen, Andy, Valerie, and Mpho for the very valuable work that they did behind the scenes, not getting nearly as much thanks as they should have. So a belated a very big thank you to all of them for the hard work that they put in to help keep these webinars going.
Yeah.
And then also a huge thank you to all the presenters over the years. Without them, we wouldn't have a show. So there are 147 names on this list. I'll move along to the next slide with them on. It just shows how many people we've had presenting, that we can't get them all onto one slide. So, and many of these presenters have presented multiple episodes, and so we greatly appreciate their time commitment in preparing their presentations and actually presenting to us. So thank you very, very much to all the presenters. And I know there was one question, I can't remember, in the chat or in the Q&A box, someone asking whether we struggle to get presenters. And an answer is no. There's so much out there that we need to showcase. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle aligning schedules, as we've had a couple of times this year. But thankfully, there seems to be a never-ending supply of amazing speakers who we can get to come and present on the show. And I think quite a few of them are in the audience tonight, so a very special thank you to those people. And then before we end, we have an announcement about the, I won't say future direction, but the future look of the webinars. So Kurt, if you would like to present this section.
So as you may have noticed, our logo changed a few months ago. In fact, we debuted it on the 6th of September, which was the South African Bird Fair last year. So the reason for the change is that when in 1996 we became BirdLife South Africa, as opposed to the Southern African Ornithological Society conference, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think BirdLife South Africa is a lot cleaner. So that was 30 years ago, and we just took on BirdLife International's logo at the time and just put South Africa underneath. And in time, we also added our very wonderful strapline, Giving Conservation Wings. So it's a beautiful logo, and it's very iconic, I would say. But that bird is the Arctic tern, which is a perfectly appropriate bird for BirdLife International, given that they link conservation initiatives from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere, just like the Arctic tern migrates from the Arctic Circle to Antarctica and back. But we felt that it was time to introduce a bit more of a South African flair to our logo. And consequently, we've been updating the look of a few of our different products. So from the Blocq logo to the bird fair to photography competition, these things are all getting an overhaul as time and capacity allows. And conservation conversations is the latest, shall we say victim? Or should we say patient? I don't know what the word is. But Christina, if you go to the next slide, we're very happy to show you all the new look. So
I promise I had nothing to do with the choice of bird.
Yeah, Christina, all eyes on you. Yeah.
Very it looks great. I'm very glad Christina's penguin made a debut.
Melissa, we did look at having a secretary bird, but a secretary bird's already on the lab logo. So
all good. I saw it had made it onto lab. So glad everyone's birds are getting some love.
So major credit must be given to our designer, who also works on the African BirdLife magazine, Bryony van Beek. She is the mastermind behind this wonderful, fresh new look. And of course, for those of you who haven't noticed, that logo on the left now features the blue crane, South Africa's national bird, and an incredibly important bird for us to conserve going forward. So I see lots of hearts and cheers. I'm very glad that people like it.
Yeah, me too. And thanks for driving that rebranding. It's good to have a a logo that, or a brand that's kind of aligned to our new logo now. So thank you for that. So we have gone over 8 o'clock. We've been having a lot of fun chatting and reminiscing. I don't know if people want to stay on a little bit longer to just share some stories and maybe go through a couple of questions. But I will try and find, I saw a couple in the Q&A. But I've lost them now amongst all the other lovely messages of people telling us why they, what they appreciate about conservation conversations. I think there have been also a few suggestions for topics, so we will take those on board. Thank you very much to everyone for that. Maybe before we end, we can just do a quick round robin of all the presenters. If you have a favorite episode or favorite memory from your time as being a host, then we can share those and maybe call it a night there. I don't know if anyone wants to go first. I have a couple that I can share if people need time to think. Andrew, do you want to go?
Sure. I was going to say that you could go first, but
okay. Well, then I don't mind.
Ladies first, I think, Kurt.
Go for it, Christina.
Okay. So it's a toss-up between my first solo hosting endeavor, I guess, which was a Youth Day panel, which was actually quite easy because I just had to play some pre-recorded videos. So that was a standout memory. But then also sit in 2022 after the first Flock to Marion, I unfortunately contracted COVID. Andrew and Melissa were both away doing field work, so I had to both host and present on the Cape Gannet as the Bird of the Year that year, sitting in self-isolation with COVID and feeling pretty sorry for myself. But I actually really enjoyed that episode, so that stands out as one of the kind of memories that when I knew that I could actually host. If I could do it with COVID, I could do it anytime. And that was that was a really pivotal moment for me personally.
That's awesome, Christina, and I think it really speaks to your resilience and that quiet strength I mentioned. And yeah, well done. We really appreciate the lengths at which these hosts go to plug the gaps. I remember one episode with Dr. Lucy Kemp. Thankfully, a topic I'm well versed in with large terrestrial birds. Lucy's internet died halfway through her presentation, and luckily she'd shared her slides with me so I could keep it going until she made it back into the webinar and could pick up where I had managed to get us to. So it's the show certainly keeps one on your toes. But I think if I look back on the opportunities I've had, this show has really just allowed me to engage with people I've idolized in my own birding journey. I think of the likes of Dr. Warwick Tarberton, David Allen, amazing ornithologists who were able to come onto the show and have a conversation about stuff that we both love. And I think that was absolutely just a really special opportunity for me looking back, was just these conversations with people I'd looked up to as a young birder for so many years, and being able to kind of be on the platform with them and share their stories and their knowledge was wonderful. And the last thing I will share is obviously being an ecologist. Not everyone knows I actually did my PhD on trees, not on birds, but I think I did an unofficial doctorate on birds coming to BirdLife South Africa. And it's a very noisy car going past. Give me 1 second. The episode I got to do with Val Thompson launching her book on tree spotting in the Lowveld was a particularly special episode for me. And just hearing the knowledge and the passion that she has for all things nature beyond just trees, but how trees are really this connecting thing that birds rely on, that we rely on, and kind of looking beyond birds into the ecosystem that we are very much a part of was an incredibly special episode for me too.
Thanks, Melissa.
I guess it's my turn. I don't feel like I've been a host long enough to really have something stand out, but I think it's really nice getting to recognize the names, of the viewers who consistently join, and it's always just nice. Rob Simmons is definitely one of those that he's mostly one of the prominent viewers on the webinar. So having him ask really cool questions and contributing essentially in the chat on the various conversations is always fun. But yeah, just I think the platform in general is it's a really nice and engaging platform to share the work that everybody in this field is doing.
Nice, Jess. I'm just going to jump in and stop Christina from carrying on, because I wanted to share a time when I was hosting and I think my microphone wasn't working, or I wasn't sharing the right screen or something. And I was getting like an email from Mark. I was getting WhatsApps from Christina. I then got a phone call from Jess. I was so overwhelmed, all telling me the same thing, sharing the wrong screen or whatever it was. And Jess was busy phoning me, and I don't know if anyone here remembers this, but couldn't think of anything to do other than to answer the phone call and start talking to Jess on the phone whilst hosting. But yeah, if it gives you an idea, I've got my own laptop, my work laptop, and my girlfriend's screen here, all because it takes quite a lot of maneuvering and screen sharing and all kinds of sort of technical capacity, at least with my lack of skill, to get these things to work. And even then, it sometimes still doesn't work.
Seems like we all have best memories of times where things actually didn't go to plan. Probably my favorite one that I ever hosted was on birding ethics, which was a panel discussion with Callan Cohen, Vince Ward, and Etienne Marais. And we just declared on the South Africa Listers Club that you could bird by sound for the sake of the list. And we were talking about why that decision was made and some of the broader aspects of how to bird ethically. And at that stage, it was, I think, stage 4 or 6 load shedding, and the dreaded load shedding hit, and my entire presenter setup crashed, and I had to run home, which at the time was about 50 meters away from the office. And I got online about 7-8 minutes later, and the panel had just carried on talking like I wasn't even needed. So it was cool to listen to them keep going and the fruitful chats they were having. And my other, apart from the Sandparks series as well, which I think was very popular and really enjoyable for everyone. One of my enduring memories of this series, and I'm a bit scared about saying it because I might ruin the facade for the current presenters, but it got to a certain time of day, say 8:30, you're coming towards the end of a webinar where you feel like a glass of wine, but it's not really appropriate to be drinking while you're presenting on a work episode. And I can say this now because I don't work for BirdLife. And I had a mug in my room that I used to pour red wine in off screen and then lift it to my lips and just softly blow on it to try and, disguise it as a tea or a coffee. And I don't know if I got away with it, if anyone ever picked up on it. If you did, well done. I thought I did quite a good job. I probably was smirking away while doing it because I was watching myself on camera thinking how smart I was. But yeah, sometimes maybe by the end of webinars, I was a bit more lively than I was at the start. And now you know why.
You're giving away
Trade secrets, Andrew de Blocq.
I've ruined it for everyone. Every time Jess, Kurt, and John actually have a cup of tea, everyone's going to assume it's wine or whiskey now.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Funny.
Well, thanks everyone for sharing those memories and meaningful and funny moments. It's nice sometimes to get a look behind the curtain, as it were, and see what's going on in the hosts' minds and lives when these things happen. So I think, yeah, it's 8:15. We'll leave it there for this evening. I just want to say thank you so much again to Melissa and Andrew for joining us. It was really great to be back on the Zoom screen with you. And thanks to Kurt and Jess for joining as well and being such capable hosts and taking some of the load off. So it's been a great time reminiscing with everyone, and really, really great to have so many people and all the love pouring in with the heart emojis. Thank you very much, everyone. So I guess we just have to echo Kurt's challenge to everyone to go away and keep communicating. Tell someone who doesn't know anything about birds or conservation about these webinars, or an interesting bird that you saw on your way to work, or whatever you can to just help spread the word about conservation and birds. The more people we get on this important bandwagon is the better. So I don't know if any of the rest of the hosts have any last words to say before we close off.
I mean, for me, Christina, just a huge thank you for inviting us back onto the show to celebrate this amazing milestone. And I really look forward to seeing what you and the rest of the team do with the next 200 episodes. Absolutely love the new look and feel. And I have no doubt that the show and its amazing audience will continue to connect every other Tuesday and share amazing, amazing knowledge and bird stories. So keep it up, and thanks for having us tonight.
Yeah, for me, just thank you for having us. Thank you for your great idea, Melissa, and thank you to Mark and the BirdLife leadership team for backing it and keeping it going all these years. It really is quite special, and it's been incredibly nostalgic and very enjoyable to be on tonight. Thank you so much for inviting us back, and best of luck.
Thanks, Andrew and Melissa.
Just it's really nice to actually present with all the other than one of us, and then there's tech support. But just to punt the next episode, it's going to be on Quack, with Sanyo Rose being our interim coordinator for the last 6 months. So it's really going to be really exciting reflecting on that. But also I'm going to be providing a very brief overview of the wader tracking that we've just established along the West Coast. So please join in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Jess. Just a final word from me. Thanks, Melissa and Andrew, for getting this off the ground in the first place. It's been a privilege to get involved. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes who keeps things running smoothly. As Christina mentioned, they often don't get any credits. And thanks to my co-hosts, Jess, Christina, and John. You've been fantastic to work with, and it's a privilege. And of course, a huge thank you to the audience for coming back every 2 weeks. It's fantastic having you joining us from all around the world. So thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks very much. And yeah, definitely join us again in 2 weeks' time. And yeah, keep communicating about those birds and conservation. And I hope everyone does their homework for the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to throw it back to Melissa to end us off here.
Gotta remember this one. Well, thanks everybody. Keep your eyes on the skies and keep enjoying those birds. And I won't see you next week, but I look forward to watching what this team does with the rest of you. Adios.